Blah, blah, blah.
Hey guys, welcome back to some more Shelf-O-Ween. Right now it is night 11 and we have entered our third segment, which is titled, Tell Me You Got That, which, if you cannot tell by the title of this segment, revolves around found footage. Ah yes, the subgenre where you ask yourself, why the fuck are you still filming? Any sane person would just drop their camera and get the hell out of Dodge, but not these individuals. So let's get started and kick off night 11 with Wreck. Not quarantine. Wreck. Am I the only one that finds quarantine a bit of a disservice? It got people to watch Wreck, so I guess that's a plus on its side. Wreck is about a reporter and her cameraman following firefighters as they're on call to an apartment complex. The call was about an elderly woman on the third floor who appears to be trapped in her apartment. Little did they know that when they went on this call, they were never going to make it out of that building alive. For there is an odd contagion spreading throughout the complex. A contagion that turns people into psychopathic freaks. Now, for those of you who haven't seen Wreck, you're probably going, oh, found footage zombie movie. Those usually work out. Well, no, it's not a zombie movie. It is a little more complicated than that. Let's just say the origin of the contagion is a little otherworldly. And when someone thinks of a zombie movie, they usually think like fast pace, quick pacing, nothing like the old days. But Wreck kind of captures the older style of zombie movies where it's a slow burn movie. Wreck is a film that builds up atmosphere as it goes along. It's not one of those movies that's like, oh, jump scare, oh, gore. No, it's one of those movies that builds upon itself and keeps building until we reach the climax of the movie where things just go into pure chaos. And I'm gonna be honest, it reaches a point where you're like, okay, there's no topping this, so what's gonna happen next? They're like, are they gonna escape, or like, what's gonna happen? No, right when you think that it could not go any higher, it shoots through the roof. It catapults itself in the last 15 to 10 minutes with a lore dump that shatters everything you thought you knew about what was going on in this movie. Wreck is not a particularly long movie. Matter of fact, it's kind of short. The overall runtime for the movie is 1 hour and 18 minutes. Take the credits into consideration, that's about 1 hour and 13, hour 12. That's crazy low, but I feel like it's the perfect runtime for this particular story. If it ran on any longer, then I feel like it would definitely overstay its welcome. The runtime fits the pacing. At the pacing that the film has, it's a comfortable pace. If they extended that, then it would just feel a little overdone. Now, one thing that the film definitely has going for it are the performances. This is some of the most believable acting I've seen in a found footage movie. Usually when it comes to these found footage movies, it's hard to cast people and have them act believable because they're supposed to be like everyday life. This isn't a normal movie. This is supposed to be footage that was found that captured something crazy. And it's hard to find actors who can comfortably act in a real life setting, believe it or not. And Wreck, I feel like, right next to, I think, Cloverfield, perhaps, is one of those found footage movies, one of those rare found footage movies, where the acting is the best part of the movie. And there's no real cheap scares in it. The scares are pretty evenly applied. They're not like jarring or like annoying like most films. The effects, practical. nothing digital in this movie. There's one thing in the movie that you'd probably swear to God is digital, but it is not. Everything is pretty much practical in this movie. Wreck is a film that knows what it is, stays for as long as it's welcomed, doesn't overdo anything, knows how to structure its story, and knows how to shatter your expectations. And I'm not gonna lie, those are kind of the elements that Quarantine got wrong. I'm not saying Quarantine is a particularly bad movie. Like, Quarantine's a good movie, it's just, it is nowhere near on the level of Wreck for me. And that's Night 11. Short, sweet, to the point, just like Wreck. You know, we've been all over the world with this marathon so far, so let's take a break and reach for the stars for our next movie. Apollo 18 is interesting because it's a found footage film in space. On the moon, specifically. We follow a trio of astronauts as they explore the moon and lay down these devices that's supposed to be like a sort of like a counter to Russian radio waves. But it isn't until strange occurrences begin to appear that they begin to question what their mission truly was, and if in fact they are alone on the moon. The film takes place in what I assume is the 70s, and they record the film with overlays that make it feel like something that could have been recorded from the 70s. The effect isn't that great, it could be done better, but I appreciate the effort to make it look of the times. The characters do have a legit sense of camaraderie about them. It's just a shame that what they do in the film up until things get crazy isn't all that interesting. They walk around the moon, pick up some rocks, that's about it. The film is also edited in a way that does legit feel like a sort of homebrew edit, where someone found this footage, looked through it, and cut it down for us to digest. In this case, the footage is leaked footage of the secret Apollo 18 moon mission. And for those wondering, the true final trip to the moon that we have made as human beings up until that point of when the movie came out was the Apollo 17 mission, and we haven't really ventured to the moon after that. But as the tagline for the film suggests, find out why we never went back to the moon. Aliens. It's aliens. I don't know what else you want me to say. It's aliens. More specifically, sort of like little crustacean rock things. Think the rock crabs from Pirates of the Caribbean if they were hostile and riddled with disease. Which brings up one of the major flaws that I feel like I have with this movie. The intention was not to explain much, and they succeeded. I just think they succeeded a little too well. They don't really explain a whole lot about the crustacean creatures on the moon. They just kind of show what happens if you get infected by one of these things, and that's it. There's several clues hidden throughout, but if you're not really smart enough, you're probably going to get lost, like myself. From what I can gather, they corrupt radio frequencies, so they speak with some sort of radar, I'm assuming. They're highly infectious, and this infection lets them communicate with people, I think. And lastly, when you fully succumb to whatever infection they cause, whether it be like a venom or something else, they are capable of taking you over and fully influencing your actions. Are they intelligent? Are they mindless creatures that just happen to have some sort of way of controlling people? I don't quite understand the creatures in this one. This is the kind of content that makes theorist channels go crazy. Film theory, found flicks, inside of mind, those kind of people. The movie was alright. It was definitely creepy with its build-up. The execution, I feel like, could have been done a little bit better. Maybe, I don't know, because a lot of the time, we don't really see the crustaceans. They only have, like, maybe roughly 3 minutes of screen time, and a lot of them are still photographic images, or them as a rock slightly shifting. It's a creepy movie, don't get me wrong, it's creepy, but I still feel like there's more that could have been done with the execution. The Sacrament is brought to us by a pre-X Ty West. That alone was enough to get me to see this feature, and, well, I don't feel much different after. I didn't quite care for The Sacrament. Don't really know what it was that just didn't really catch my attention, but the movie didn't hold my attention. It has decent atmosphere when things start going, but it takes a while for things to get going. The film follows a Vice film crew. Yes, actually Vice. I don't know how they managed to go up to a journalism outlet and go, hey, we want to make you part of our horror feature. And they're like, okay, sure, why not? They're sent to a cult commune out in the middle of God knows where, guided by someone whose sister is part of said cult. They show up and everything seems to look peachy. Man-made structures, their own health plan. Everyone seems to be happy. Little overly happy. The more time they spend at the commune, the more darker and mysterious things become. I will say I did enjoy the cult leader character. He was pretty fun. He tied the whole movie together in my opinion, but yikes to the build-up. And there is a lot of build-up. The movie drags, in my opinion. It drags to the point where I started losing interest and actually started looking at stuff on my phone. That level of drag. See, there I go, on my phone already, sending texts. That is how little interest I have in this movie. I don't know, man, I have ADHD. I don't have the attention span for this level of slow burn. No, it's just me. You know? I don't even have much to say on the matter because, frankly, I can't remember shit. I'll give the movie a second try some other time, but, this is it. Thus, we move on to the kaiju found footage epic Cloverfield. Cloverfield was released on January 18th, 2008. My birthday, as a matter of fact. Yeah, it's not every day a Godzilla fan has a kaiju movie come out on his birthday. Cloverfield is a masterclass on how to do a found footage kaiju film, which, might I add, is a subgenre that is woefully underpopulated. How have we not had more kaiju found footage movies? Monster by the Asylum doesn't count. That was already a ripoff of Cloverfield. If you want your monster to come out as horrifying and huge, found footage. We are literally from a human point of view. And Cloverfield masters this subject matter with the genre that it's contained in. We feel the scale and power and absolute travesty of the Cloverfield monster. It's cool, but horrifying. The film is about a farewell party gone bad. As our cameraman mucks about the party, we then hear a distressing explosion in the middle of Manhattan, thus kicking off a chain of events of New York being attacked from a beast from the deep. That may or may not have been released by a Japanese oil company using its egg yolk as a substance for Slurpees. I'm not fucking joking. Cloverfield had a huge ARG marketing campaign that spawned 2 originally made websites, a blog website, and a MySpace page. Because it was 2008. It is crazy how good the Cloverfield monster blends in with the found footage like, point of view, because every time there's a CGI monster in something found footage, I always think that must be a bitch to animate. And with how big and massive Clover is, I can only imagine the pains it must have gone in to bring this thing to life for this movie. The film begins in central Manhattan, and we follow our characters as they go from Manhattan and travel all the way around to Central Park. That is a lot of New York to go through. It also has gorillas on the soundtrack, and that's just awesome. They also have Deadpool co-star turned emoji turned asshole TJ Miller. It's a shame to see the freaking decline that Cloverfield had from point A to point B, because we started out with a fantastic found footage kaiju film to an alright horror experience like kidnapping scenario to a space drama. I will always prefer the first Cloverfield over the other Cloverfields, mainly because I like kaiju movies, and a found footage kaiju movie is just awesome. And that is the best way to describe Cloverfield. It's awesome. It's just awesome. And now, on night 15, it is time to cap off the found footage segment with The Gallows, which is aged like fine wine. The film follows 3 delinquent youths as they break into their high school after hours in the middle of the night to demolish the theater kids' freaking sets for their play. That play being The Gallows. And it just so happens that this film takes place on the 10-year anniversary of a horrible travesty associated with that play. Horror movie. The tragedy being that the gallows that were used for the show were defective, and the floor gave way when the noose was wrapped around the leading actor's neck. Poor old Charlie died that day, but some say Charlie never left the theater. The Gallows is kind of a combination of found footage paranormal and a slasher film, because Charlie does appear as a ghost on screen multiple times, draped in his costume from whence he died, and the mask worn by the executioner. It's kind of an interesting blend of slasher and paranormal. The found footage doesn't really take away from that. The only time that it really starts to drag is the beginning of the movie, when we're stuck with these characters who are very stereotypically 2010s. And I'm talking early 2010s. What's that? Those two over there are playing patty cake? Gay. Dude, there's like no beautiful girls in this theater club. Like, ew. I'm dating one of the cheerleaders and we are totally boning. Let's mock the dead. The first half hour, nothing but that. Which is kind of a shame, because once things actually start picking up, things really pick up. There's scenes where Charlie like lingers in the background before he does something, and it's the old Hitchcockian effect, you know? Hitchcock would always give this scenario when discussing suspense. There are these two guys sitting in a room having a conversation when all of a sudden a bomb goes off. Not very thrilling. But let's say that we're explicitly shown where the bomb is inside the room. Now we're left in suspense, wondering if they'll ever figure out that there's a bomb in the room, or sitting there anxiously waiting for the bomb to go off, but we don't know when it will. It's done all right here. It's nothing spectacular, but it's done fairly well. Our leads are a little bit irritating, but our main leads are a little bit irritating, but nothing too bad, I'd say. There were a couple lines of dialogue that admittedly got a good chuckle out of me. I just think it takes too long to actually get going. There was also a third act twist that, admittedly, when I first saw the movie, I had no idea was coming, and I thought it was kind of the weaker thing about the movie back then. Now, yeah, it's still kind of weak, which is a shame because this twist is like the main headliner of the second movie, which I have not seen, mainly for that reason. The best thing I can say about The Gallows is that it looked like everyone had fun making the movie. Like, if you saw the behind-the-scenes supplement on the making of the movie, everyone looked like they were having a great time. Like, it was basically found footage within the found footage. There's the legitimate footage, and then there's the acted footage. Overall, The Gallows is a bit dated and kind of a lukewarm film. It's nothing great, but it's an alright murder of an hour and a half. And that wraps up the found footage segment, and I have to apologize for the lack of crazy edits. It has been crazy in the household, and I haven't really had much time this week to put everything together, but I did the best I could, given the restraints. Again, I'm just rolling with the punches with the whole schedule thing, which all of this baggage comes with it, you know? It's the challenge, and it's a challenge that I've put upon myself. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys next time, where we take a turn from 100% graphic, scary horror films to something a little more humorous. Till next time.